what's your dream, Mark?
Oh, dude, I just want to make videos. I just want to make content. That's my dream.
And the reality is, for a lot of people, like they have these dreams, and I'm so happy for you that you're at least chasing that. You know, for some people, it's like they don't believe that their dreams are something that they deserve to have.
Oh man, that's a whole conversation.
I know. And so it feels like 50% of the time, like I'm a creative media person, but then the other 50% of the time, I'm like a life coach.
Yes.
With a lot of the people I work with. Because the reality is there's been a couple people that come to me with like, I'm just trying to make a little side business. Boom, I made them $500,000 in 6 months. So I'm like,
that's insane.
Right. And so even for myself, when I found that out, I was like, that was a big turning point for myself. But my point here is that, for a lot of people, it's really hard for them to imagine themselves living their dream life or their dream work life, having their dream business. It's really just a mentality point at that point for me to just, in a lot of ways, I'm a testament to a lot of my customers that I am working my dream business. I am working my dream life. And it's just a matter of setting the foundation for that to allow yourself to get there.
And how do you, if you come across someone who doesn't believe in themselves, how do you do that?
You know, that's really hard because there's only so much you can do to convince someone to believe in themselves. In a lot of ways, like I told you, I am a testament to my clients in a lot of ways that I also put it this way. I don't have it within me to do something I'm not passionate about. And for me, it comes a little bit easier for me to chase the things that I'm passionate about. For other people, it's they don't look at work the same way that I do. They look at it as a means to sustain the rest of their life, which is valid. I'm under the mindset or the belief that if you are forced to work in your life, you might as well make it something that you enjoy.
Some people might call that crazy.
Call me crazy then. I might be a psycho. But yeah, I just think that anybody that doesn't have that belief in them, it really just takes a little bit of success, a little bit of a taste of that vision, like them getting a little closer before they start to like feel it and they get a little hungry. But like I said, I work with a lot of people initially. Like I've had some clients come to me with a full-time job and something that they want to build on the side. And sometimes it just doesn't pan out because there's only so much energy you have in one day.
Right. You have to figure out how much you're going to dedicate to what.
Exactly.
Have you ever heard of the bar principle?
No, tell me.
Okay. So essentially it's this triangle where you have belief at the top, actions over here, and results over here. And, the way it usually works, it goes clockwise where you have a belief and then you take certain actions and then you get certain results. A lot of times people don't have the belief and that's what's stopping them from doing it in the first place. So how do you get them to get that belief? You actually have to go backwards. Start with the results. Okay, like what kind of results do you want out of this? And they'll tell you those. And then you'll say, okay, well, what actions would you have to take to get there? And then they'll tell you in whatever actions, okay, well, what would you have to believe about yourself in order to take these actions? And then you have to like work backwards to it. But essentially, if you can convince someone to believe in themselves, I think that's super powerful. Yeah.
And in a lot of the ways I like to consider one of my biggest skill sets is just being a hype man, like,
dude, people need energy,
people really just sometimes they need to have some belief instilled in them and not like a blind belief, like, oh, you can do it.
Yeah.
Like if someone's telling me something, unrealistic that they want to do, I'm going to be straight up with them. But if somebody's telling me that their dream is unrealistic and it's something that is definitely 1000% achievable, I'm like, what are we not seeing eye to eye on here? In a lot of the cases, it's just a matter of like, people already have the skill set, have all the tools, have everything they need to start the business. Yeah. It's just a matter of they don't believe in themselves.
Or maybe they don't have everything, but they know like they can get it. They can just talk to you. They can talk to someone that can, like, I love motivating people. I really do. And like, I just recently went to this creator conference and the whole time I was there, I was just thinking like, bro, there's no difference between me and these people. There's no difference.
Nope.
All it is just like time in the game and just reps and just getting better at it. Like I look at everyone, I'm like, they're just like me. Like what is stopping me from achieving this? I can't think of anything other than just more practice.
Well, and that's something I resonate with a lot because I don't think everybody might think this way. But a lot of people are afraid of, I don't want to say authority, but like your superiors, people that are more experienced than you. And, at some point I just started to realize they were in my shoes at a certain point in their life. They were just as inexperienced as I was. The only difference between me and them is a little bit of time. And, you know, something that I'll probably talk about a couple times on this chat is betting on yourself. Because in the moment of like, I want that, you really just have to like believe in yourself and believe that you have the ability to do it, especially in a world where nowadays you could get on YouTube in 20 minutes and learn whatever you want. Like anything you want. Like you could learn how to cook a bagel, start a bagel business. You know, granted, there's a lot of other elements to a business beyond the bagel. Right.
But still, you can learn those too.
That's what I'm saying.
This is like the most crazy time to be alive.
That's what I'm saying. So, you know, actually a fun part about, a big part of my story, the reason why I started my business is actually I got laid off.
Tell me about that.
It was a very interesting time in my life because, you know, actually I'll actually go back one job prior to that.
Okay.
I was graduating college, had so much experience in the football sports world, been working for JMU, interned for the Commanders. And, you know, I'm graduating thinking that like every NFL team is going to like blow up my phone, be like, Nathan, we need you, blah, blah.
We need you now, dude.
Right. And another funny thing, I got all the way through the final interview with like my dream NFL team.
Who is it?
The Baltimore Ravens. So it fell through. It fell through. And I was a little devastated at the time. And for extra context, this is 2020. I graduated in 2020. So this is like right before all the sports got all shut down and everything. So I got, you know, denied of a job that I really, really wanted. It's something that for like 4 years, I'm like, this is what I'm working towards. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get it. And I was really shot. And especially during a time where it was like sports opportunities were at a very slim supply.
Yeah, it sounds tough.
Well, and so, you know, I was like unemployed for almost 9 months basically. And I got my first full-time job after college, which was with a blinds company.
Okay.
And so at the time I'm like, first of all, I'll take whatever I can get. But I was feeling a little like my ego was hurt at the time. I'm like going from NFL to a local blinds company. And now I have to say in hindsight, that was one of the most important parts of my career because they hired me as a videographer / marketing specialist. Mm-hmm. And so for me, this was the first time full time that I was getting paid to create things, but also the marketing specialist side of that thing, they forced me to think about the purpose of the things that I was making. So they loved that I was making really good videos, but the goal was basically to drive leads, to drive recruitment, all sorts of things from the videos that I was making. Long story short, after like a year and a half, my value I was trying to get a little bit more out of wasn't seen. And I ended up moving on to a new job, which was an esports company. Okay. And in a lot of ways, I was so happy. It was like a mostly remote, young company startup. We were very like chill, had a very like relaxed work life, but we also did like really meaningful work. Mm-hmm. And you know, eventually the esports company didn't really end up panning out. It was a startup and I ended up losing my job. Obviously in any business, typically the creative people tend to be the first people that go first. Mm-hmm. You know, in that moment, it was also something that I wasn't expecting. And so after like a year and a half being at that job, I was very comfortable, you know, looking forward to the future and, to lose your job, especially as a creative. It was a really scary time for me because as a creative job is just not something that you can very easily pick up. Mm-hmm. You know, it took me a lot of time just to even get my job before that. But for me to get this one and then to lose it very unexpectedly, I was in a place of, oh crap, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And you know, when I talk about betting on yourself, I think back to that moment because I was applying to stuff and not hearing anything back. And I was getting so frustrated, especially because I was applying to things that I really didn't want anything to be a part of. Like, and so there was a moment where I took my website, which was originally just like a portfolio showing all the experience, like videos I made with Washington, videos I made with this business, had my resume on it. And I just said, I'm going to readjust this portfolio to be more of like a storefront. So I took my videos and I was just like changing it to a more of like a business website. And you know, in that moment where I was laid off, this is one of the most beautiful things about that moment is I had all the time in the world. So I, you know, really just took like a whole week, told nobody about it. I said, I'm just going to make a business. And I was actually terrified because I thought my parents were going to be like, Nathan, what the heck are you doing? Like, apply to stuff. Like, you need to have like a full-time thing. But I knew in that moment what I was doing was the right decision. I didn't know that it would be so successful, truthfully. But I knew that in that moment, even if I didn't, or even if I got a full-time job eventually, that putting that business to work on the side would at least be like a backup thing for me. I made that website and I looked at it for not the first time, but the first time I showed it to my parents.
Yeah.
I was expecting.
What was that moment like?
I don't know. I mean, I was really worried. I was honestly genuinely thinking they're going to be like, okay, this is cool. This is a good idea, but you should apply, blah, blah, blah. They were like, wow. Like the first time I showed them my website, they were so over the top supportive of me. And, you know, they saw the vision. They saw the vision as soon as I sent them that the website. I made an intro video for it too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And you know, for me in that moment, I was still terrified. And honestly, it was one hurdle was just getting my parents' approval, which I was a grown man, you know, I was a grown man, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you want your parents to be supportive of the decisions you're making. And, you know, at that time I was just betting on myself. I really was. Cause another part of that moment is I had my old boss was like, I need a website for this like side gig thing. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like applying to jobs and looking at this, looking at that. And I'm like, wait a second. Somebody is seeking my services, wants to pay me money for it, and I can do it. It's not something I haven't done before. I've made websites before. And then I told him, I was like, do you want a video on that website? You want some photos on that
Started
website?
Upselling right away.
And then I'm like, wait a second. Am I a business? Like there was a moment where I was literally like, am I a business? Like, and this was pre-website, actually, pre me making my website, me even coming up with a name, anything. And it was really that moment that somebody came to me in a moment where I was not getting paid for anything. And he said, I need something done. I said, I'm available. I can do it. And then I was like, why not turn this into something bigger? Yeah. So honestly, you know, some people, I think this is the most cliche thing to say, but me getting laid off was probably one of the best things to happen to me. Yeah. Especially as a creative, because, you know, when I talk about my first job being a marketing specialist, I felt like I had a lot of unique tools in that moment that not only could I make a high quality product, but I had a good understanding of how to make it valuable to a business owner. So that's what kind of led me to kind of focus on my business being a strategic creative media.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people are afraid to start their own businesses?
Honestly, it's just fear of failure, which is natural. You know, I think everybody is afraid of failing for all sorts of reasons. You know, there's a lot of consequences of failure, but people, I think, underestimate the value of failure. And, you know, if you bet on yourself and it doesn't work out, a lot of people know me. A lot of people that do know me know I have a very important phrase to myself. Say everything that happens in life is either a lesson or a blessing. And if it's a lesson, that's still a blessing. Because if you're learning something in life, you're going to get further. You're going to grow. You're going to be stronger. But, you know, some people are afraid to start their own business because I think it's just that comfortability that you get in life. You know, like I said, I worked with a lot of clients that have their full-time job already and they're trying to do something on the side, and either it never pans out or it takes so long.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Right. And that's why in a lot of ways I say I got lucky. I got lucky because I got laid off. I had nothing to do but to focus on building my business. In a lot of ways, that's what helped it start so quickly for myself and become such a sustainable thing. But, you know, in life, like anything, this is beyond business. Every time that I've pushed past my comfort zone, push past the things that scare me, bet on myself, taken a risk, thought boldly, I can't think of any time where it's really panned out negatively. Because
I can't imagine not betting on myself.
That's the thing is like, I don't know if it's just like you're born with it or something. You know, that's where some people ask me like, or not some people ask me, but like I kind of dabble in my head with like, is everybody cut out to be an entrepreneur?
I don't think they are.
I don't think so. But I don't think that like, I still think that everything that I'm doing is something that like somebody could teach themselves. It comes down to not, are they born to be an entrepreneur? It's just, are they born to believe in themselves or not?
Yeah, definitely. I had a reel that I made earlier this week where from my conversation with Holden, where I talked about just like having the courage to try things, even though they might fail. I think a lot of people are afraid of failure. I think a lot of people are afraid of success too, which is kind of crazy. But like I think people don't realize, you said like they don't realize the value. They have no idea how much money they could potentially make by having their own business. Because like if you work for someone else, they're only going to pay you so much, and you have to create way more value than you're paid. Otherwise, it won't be successful.
So my first full-time job was with that blinds company, and I was the first ever creative person there. So in a lot of ways, I was really excited to show my work, be an active part of the company, and really to make an impact. And so one thing I quickly learned, though, is unfortunately nobody else in the company has any understanding about creative stuff. So it was kind of a bittersweet opportunity for myself, because I felt very professional. I was the guy. Like for them to come to me for all professional creative decisions, that was awesome. The unfortunate part is that they had no understanding of the work that it took to come up with creative ideas, produce them, use them. So I remember a point at my old job where, at first we started slow, making a couple of videos at a time. And then we got to a point where my boss wanted like a video a day. And, when we talk about being a business owner, like you can make as much money as you want. When you're working a salary job, it's awesome to have that comfort, the benefits and everything, but you are capped. You could make 365 videos. You're still going to make that amount.
Right.
And that's something that really I struggled with, because I felt like to a certain extent, the value of the videos that I was making was not how I was making my money.
Right.
I was making money based on how many hours I was in that office. And, being an entrepreneur now, I have so much ability to not only do more or less work, based on my own capacity. But the more I've increased my pricing, my value and everything, I'm like, there is no cap to how much money I can make an entire year.
I love that. And I want to jump back to this, selling your time concept. But I'm going to put a pin in that. First, I want to talk about the common misconceptions that people have when it comes to marketing or creative media. Like you probably see it all the time. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions that people have about marketing?
A lot of people think it's a matter of just putting content out every day. Like when I just talked to you, I was with the blinds company. They thought if I'm putting out a video of some sort every single day, no matter what it is, that they're going to get traction on social media. The marketing is going to get uplifted. And mind you, this was in a time during COVID where they had just taken a big transformation to online marketing.
Right.
Like there was no in-person canvassing and door to door. This was the middle of the pandemic. So, in a lot of ways, me going in there, my first goal was to basically make whatever they had in mind first. And so
just like taking orders.
Yeah, taking orders, because in a lot of ways I had the professionalism to know how to make a video. I just not at that point. I didn't have the full understanding of marketing, advertising, lead generation, and like how my videos were going to make an impact on this business. And so when it comes to marketing, a lot of people seem to think, let's think about any sort of business owner, a bagel shop. I like using a bagel shop reference. Let's say a bagel shop owner comes to me and they're like, I need social media content. Like, we need to make videos every day, this, that. And I'm like, whoa, let's take a step back here. It's not about how much you're putting out. It's not about posting every single day, which, to an extent that does provide value. It's about the purpose. It's about with this video that we're making, who are we speaking to? What do we want them to feel? What's the call to action? And in a lot of ways, where are we putting this video? Like to me, people seem to think marketing, advertising is just putting your face in front of people.
Yapping.
Yeah. Not even just yapping. It's more just like being seen in places. To me, it's a much more layered approach where, it involves purpose, intention, strategy. And, I think that goes with any marketing, but a lot of business owners that I work with, they're like, oh, I tried making TikToks or Instagram or something like that. The truth is, like, being a business owner, you got a lot of stuff to focus on.
Yeah.
And being a creative is not something you can just pick up like very quickly and like be sustainable at.
Yeah. I think everyone can be creative. I think everyone is creative actually, but that it doesn't mean that you know how to make content well.
Well, and professionally too.
Right.
Like I said too, it's been a journey just for myself to learn how to make high quality video.
Okay. That's a great point. How do you make high quality video?
Truthfully, what has gotten me very far is my storytelling ability. And a lot of times businesses will come to me and they're like, this is what my business does. This is my product. I'm like, what's your story though? Like, why did you start this business? What problem were you trying to solve? You know, why are you passionate about this? And, you know, so for a lot of people, it's like, I like to pull out the story. Honestly, that's the easiest way for me to resonate with an audience anyways. Like, who doesn't love listening to a story?
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of this podcast you like to talk about, you know, it's being a friendly, more human side of being a business owner is connecting on just a human way.
On a personal level.
Right. Yeah. And I think to me, the easiest way to do that is to tell a story. The other intangibles too is just, you know, obviously like knowing exactly what the vision is. You can make a really flashy video. You can make a really, you know, good looking video, good lighting, good audio, whatever. But it's like, you could post it and has no purpose, no intention, no nothing. And that's to me how you fail as a videographer.
Dude, I resonate with this so much. I spent a year making videos on tech, and sure, they were polished and all this other stuff, but it just didn't feel right to me. So like, to me, it fell short. Sure, like the goal is to educate people and stuff, and arguably it did that, but something just felt off. The vision was off. Something was off. I don't know what it was, but I know how it feels when you make content that just doesn't quite fit, or it doesn't feel right. And I think that is something that a lot of businesses struggle with.
Well, and that always comes with a little bit of trial and error. You know, sometimes with a lot of businesses that I work with, we'll come up with a strategy, maybe a couple different types of content, and the one that we thought was going to be most lucrative didn't pan out. But the one that we didn't expect to be lucrative started getting so much engagement and all this stuff. So it's always about like pivoting. It's always about adapting. I mean, especially in the media world where, you know, even with advertising, if you're putting out an advertisement, you're going to want to put out a couple different versions of that and then kind of hone in on the one that's been most successful.
I think as creatives, we don't know what the people are going to like. Because if we did, every single thing we made would be a banger.
Yeah, that'd be too easy. Too easy. Everybody would be a videographer at that point.
Like, whatever, like even artists, like song artists, they don't know which ones are going to go platinum. If they did, every song would go platinum, but they don't. They just, you can only make what you can make and just see how people react to it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, I think a big part about being success as a creative is also like understanding your audience. For me, I have all different types of audiences.
Right. I was going to ask you, who is your audience? Just business owners, I guess.
Well, I guess it's actually really weird. I don't create for myself as much as I would like to.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
I know it's hard. You know, I only have so many hours in the day, and
I'm telling you,
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And again, this is my first podcast. You know, I'm like,
very honored.
Call her daddy. Give me a call. I'll try to do the next one too. But yeah. So the reality is, you got to know your audience. You know, for my clients, I start brand new for every single client that I work with, having to understand who their audience is. And at the end of the day, you know, for myself, who's my audience? I don't even really know yet. You know, we're gonna get to that point at some point in my business, in my creative world, where maybe I get to like pass some of my business off to other people and make some things that make me more excited.
Yeah. I love that, man. It's hard to like see yourself, look at yourself, and to figure out everything without getting help from the outside, because the water's muddied whenever you're like trying to do it for yourself. Yeah.
And you know, I will say I had my time. I had my time where I was making videos for myself, for fun, for projects. I've made some pretty like stuff that I'm like very proud of. And you know, I say I don't like create for myself that often, but like occasionally I'll like just spontaneously make something for myself that I just feel so proud of. Like there's been so many times where I'm just like, even overnight, you know, I shaved my head earlier this year. Dude, and I decided to make like a really cool creative video. I did it overnight, edited it in like a couple of hours, posted it. And I was like, it's crazy how fast I could make a video if I just put myself to it. It's just the thing, as a creative business person, like there is such a balance towards, you know, you have to commit a lot of energy into making things for other people. To me, I think in the long run, I look forward to the point where my business will grow to the point where I have a lot more capacity to do things for myself and more just focus on the administrative side of the rest of the projects.
Working on the business versus in the business.
Exactly. So, I think with every business owner, creative wise, like it's always going to be a journey having the endurance creatively to like keep producing for other people. But I will say too, like I have all agency on like who I can or can't create with. A lot of my clients make it super easy because they're awesome. They have great vision. They're paying fairly. But if that's not the case, then being a business owner allows you to, you can't tell your boss no in a full-time job. Being a business owner,
you can choose your clients.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's go back to the main story. So you're working for someone full-time. You realize that you have more potential by yourself. And I just want to go back and touch on that thing about hourly. I think selling your time is one of the worst things that you can possibly do because your time is limited, but your output isn't, or what you can achieve is not. And I think that something that I'm struggling with, actually, like I've been thinking about renting out this studio, and I've been thinking like, do I actually want to do that? Do I want to produce stuff for other people and just spend my time working for others? Or do I just want to work on my own thing? And like all the free time I have, I can record podcasts, do other stuff, and just kind of grow my own brand.
Well, it's also really funny too. We talk about the limiting factor of an hourly rate or being paid hourly. That was actually one of the biggest flaws of my business when I first started it. It was, and I'm sure a lot of creative people struggle with this, is how do I price my stuff?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up the bagel again. It is very easy for someone to, I'm not saying it's easy to make a bagel, to all the bagel makers out there. No disrespect.
Dude, they're coming after you.
No, my whole point is here though, like the value of a bagel is very easy to understand. The value of a video campaign or a website or a photography package or whatever is very hard and complicated to explain to somebody that doesn't understand how this works.
Right. And there's also like the conversation of like a brand versus a commodity.
Exactly.
Like if you just want like a video, will any video do?
Right.
Or
and that's where I try to limit myself or limit my products from being commodities by having them provide value in any sort of way. So making money for my client, making recruitment. I work with Howard Community College. I do all of their like athletic media, and I'm like, how am I making them money? Every person that comes to that stadium or recruits come to the stadium, they see my videos, see the intro videos, see the pictures and whatnot. I know that's adding to their recruitment. So, all this to be said, basically what we talk about with like the hourly cap. I was saying one of my biggest flaws at the beginning of my business was I was charging basically hourly, essentially. So this was just the easiest way for me to price initially, especially with not as much experience and value to like show for at the time. People were asking me like, how much does it cost to make this video? And I said, well, it's going to take me about X amount of hours on site to film it and X amount of hours off site to edit it. And this was a very easy, straightforward way for me to explain to people how things costed. But down the line, what I realized is I only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
And I'm really capping myself by how much I can make by charging an hourly amount. And at the time I was drowning too. I was drowning because I was doing so much work for not that much return.
Right.
There was a pivot in my business at some point. I took a course that kind of enlightened me to the value of creative work. That kind of made me price my work based off of the value that they're getting in return.
Yeah.
So it's more like they're investing in me rather than buying a commodity.
They're buying a result.
Exactly.
Rather than your time.
Exactly. Because, and at the time of me taking the course too,
What course was this, by the way?
It was Video Business Mastery. So it was specifically for video business owners. They helped to really tap into not only your selling tactics, but also your pricing. One thing that I really took away from that is that if you're providing success for your clients, let's say you make them $100,000 off a campaign, your goal is to be getting a percentage cut of that.
Of course.
And not, an hourly amount for how much you've created.
Right. Because it creates a win-win. I'm more incentivized to help you make as much money as possible because I know I'm making a small percentage of that. Exactly.
Now, it's very difficult to convince people.
That's the crazy part. I'm going to let you finish your thought, but if a business owner, if anyone says no to $100,000 because they know you're going to take 10%, that is not a real businessman. You should walk away.
So that's the big journey is that as a creative person, when you start to get into that level of pricing, you're saying no to a lot more people than you were in the past. For me, at the beginning of my business, mostly everybody that was coming to me, if not everybody, for the first like year, I was saying yes, and this is how much it's going to cost. In fact, some people are like, oh, I can't afford that. I'm like, okay, how much do we have to take off? Right? And so you start getting to a point where, for one, you have too much work to do, you're tired, and you're not making enough money. But like two, for me, I started to realize that my work was really making an impact. You know, for one example, I had my old boss from Beltway Blinds, you know, came to me expressing he had a side job idea. And that's how he proposed it to me. He's like, I have a thing that I kind of want to start on the side. He was making like accent walls in his house for his like kids and whatnot, just for fun. But he really saw some value behind making it as a business. Also because he worked in the home improvement company or industry already. He knows how all this stuff works. We came up with his branding. We came up with his website. We came up with his videography, his photography, everything. Made him all of this. And within 6 months of him starting his business, he made $500,000 in sales. Now, I'm not at all taking credit for all of that, but you know, there's something to be said about all of those sales came through the advertisements that I made, the website that I created, and you know, a lot of other elements and things that I've produced for him that he used online to capture these clients. So I'm not at all saying that like he couldn't have done that without me, but I definitely played a large part in his success, especially in 6 months since launching the business.
And the execution.
Exactly.
So anyone can have an idea.
Right. And that was the other thing. There was a lot of factors in the branding. For example, he's an accent wall company. And I just had this idea of like, we need to make you like a luxury accent wall company.
Yeah, positioning.
Right. Because we want you in some big homes. So we put like luxury custom walls in his like logo. We kind of made it like modern branding or whatever. And you know, 6 months down the line, he's telling me, dude, genius. Like, I mean, like we're working in multi-million-dollar homes right now. Most people just believe us as a luxury company. And a lot of those things to me, it's like for that project that I did for him, where I, you know, built a website, video campaign, all these different things. I really sold myself short. And that's just because I did it off that hourly rate. I completed my hours, and then my work just continued to provide value for the next however long.
Yeah.
So that really provided me a little bit more motivation to start looking into the value of the things that I'm creating, the value that I'm providing to every business. And, you know, a switch just flipped in my brain at some point. And I really went from doing a lot of work for a little amount of money to doing much less work, much more intentionally, and making a significant amount more money.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's, you know, with the journey of being a creative entrepreneur, it's a majority of what you're learning is how to value and how to price yourself. In my opinion, that's been my journey. But honestly, that's how for a lot of creative people, once they break through that wall, that's how you end up becoming much more established.
Okay, so after you got your first client, built out this first thing, at what point did the business really start growing?
You know, there was a little bit of like a bump right at the start, because I have not like a massive Instagram following. I have like 1,300 people or something that I'd like to think there's no bots, there's no nothing. I've got like my real people.
1,300 people is a lot of people.
You know, I guess in my brain, I look a lot at like other creatives. They have like 5,000, 10,000 people following. I'm like, did you pay for those? But my thing here is that a lot of the people that do follow me know me, engaged with me before, like support me. So for me to post about my business launch, a lot of people were initially like, oh, I've got a friend, or oh, I've got a business, or oh, I've got something. And so there was a phase right off the business where I was like, oh my God, this is already an immediate success. After that, a little initial wave, I'm like, okay, wait, I actually have to do some marketing and some lead generation and some just client outreach.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting because then I had to start to think about people outside of my network and how I can maximize on the current projects that I'm doing. But truthfully, not to brag, there's been not even like a point since I've started where I've had no work to do. And you know, a lot of that is attributed to, I put a decent amount of work into my website to make sure that every possible search engine word could be featured on there. So I get a lot of business through my website, but the great thing about being a creative is that your work naturally becomes marketing and advertising for you, because the things that you're making are typically getting posted or shared with other people. So, where did it really take off for me was, I'm wondering, because honestly, it started to really take off recently for me. Like
really?
the first year and a half for me was,
so how long have you been doing this?
August 10th, 8/10 was my 2-year anniversary.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And, it wasn't up until actually around this time last year that, a really big client came to my website, Howard Community College. To me, this was a very, random, honestly, a blessing, because, I've told you, I work with JMU, I work with the Commanders. I have a lot of very niche experience in broadcasting, and just sports content in general. And somebody just decided to come to my website and be like, hey, we need a doubleheader basketball event broadcasted. We need a media day done. We have photography. I'm like, whoa, this is the biggest inquiry I've ever gotten. And little do they know this is exactly what I'm capable of doing. And so actually one of the topics we've talked about today is betting on yourself. I didn't have a broadcast crew. I didn't have a broadcast equipment. I knew how to do these things. I knew how to set it up. But I called one of the guys that hires me to do camera work and other broadcast things. I'm like, hey, Howard needs this done. Howard Community College needs this done. Are you available? Are you busy? He said, no, I'm booked up for that day. And I said, I had two routes in that moment. Tell them I can't do this. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the staff. I don't have anything. Or tell them I can, and I have 30 days
to figure it out.
Just figure it out. And so when you tell me what's my turning point, honestly, I think about shortly before that moment, I was really hitting a low point in my business where I'm exhausted. I'm doing a lot of work for not as much money as I would want. I was going through my course at the time too, so I was still working on my value and working on my pricing, but I bet on myself in that moment. And broadcasting is a big project. Broadcasting is a big project. That's why I'm saying it's a big blessing that they came to my website. I was like, whoa. Long story short, I bet on myself. I told them, yeah, I got it. My equipment, my people will be there. And then I'm calling people right and left. I'm like, are you available? Are you available? Are you available? I took a significant portion of the money that they were giving me for that project to buy all of the equipment that I needed, thinking if I do really well at this, they're going to want me back. They're going to want me back for more. And I really thought that there was a possibility that I did it. They never called me back again. And I just got all this broadcasting equipment for no reason. But I bet on myself. And long story short, knocked out a media day for them a week before the broadcast for 2 basketball teams, got intro videos, photos, social media content, killed the broadcast. Honestly, one of the highlights of my entire life. I cannot say this, I couldn't say this enough. That moment, that night for me, I've never felt more successful, just because the moments that I've bet on myself, there's always been a moment that follows it like that, where I'm like,
you get the payoff. Yeah. You rose to the challenge and you conquered it.
And so for me, ever since then, first of all, they loved the work that I did. They booked me for an entire year this year, all sports covered, all their social media, all their media days and everything. And to me, that's a big turning point for 2 reasons. One, I love sports.
What do you love the most about sports?
Sports is just you show up for one game, you have no idea what's going to happen, right? Your work is so unpredictable when you're working in sports. Now, when I show up to a game, I know what my duties are. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I never know if JMU, Commanders, whoever is going to win, if it's going to be an overtime, if it's going to be, a walk-off grand slam. I don't know if it's going to be a Jaden Daniels throwing a Hail Mary touchdown at the last moment. I really just love sports. And the other thing too is I go back to all the way to senior year of high school. The first ever videos I ever made were just hype videos for my football team. It was just something that I loved sports. I love being around sports. And I watched the Olympics in, it was 2016, right before I went to college. And I was like, man, there's people in Brazil right now watching the best athletes the world has to offer, and they're getting paid to do it. And I'm like, how do I do that? How do I get in on that? So all that to be said, me tapping into this sports world with my business was like a huge deal for me.
It's a different level. You're not just there to watch the sport. You're there to make money.
And the other thing too is I've been hired by the Commanders, JMU, all these things to be a role player with their different broadcasting and whatnot. But for me to be the guy that built all of this and for it to be a success, those are the moments that make you want to bet on yourself. Like there's no hesitation going forward. If I have an opportunity to bet on myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it.
I love that.
But
and you only get that through that experience of just like, I've done it before. It's worked out. So now it's reinforced.
But that shouldn't be the only reason why you want to bet on yourself.
Yeah, you should bet on yourself no matter what. But it helps whenever you have that history to fall back on. You're like, I've done this before.
Yeah. I mean, the only way you can ever get history is by pushing yourself to experiencing it. And the other thing too is that if you bet on yourself and it doesn't work out, by no means is that a failure. You know, that is always something that when you bet on yourself, when you're brave enough to believe in yourself, that is such an important thing for yourself to do. I'd like to think you're not going to get very far in life unless you believe that you can. Like, so yeah, I mean, I think a big part of my journey and a big part of any creative person is you really have to bet on yourself, especially because for a lot of us, we end up having to do free work at the beginning. We end up having to be, you know, reducing our value or, you know, compromising or, you know, a lot of that. That's a big core part of the journey when you're a creative.
Yeah. A lot of creatives I talk to feel like their creative work is their only job. And there's a lot of pressure to accept every client because they'll be starving if they don't. How do you shift past that point?
The reality is that the people you're saying no to, there's an equal amount of people out there that are actually meant to pay you fair pricing. Now, sometimes it takes them, the clients that don't fully see your value, not to say that we're like taking advantage of it, but that's an opportunity for you to expand your portfolio to get to a point where you have more
people that do see it.
Credibility, correct. So sometimes that's a part of the process. In fact, it's a part of a process that a lot of us can't skip, is we have to deal with those clients that don't see our value. Honestly, because it's valuable to us to be able to increase our credibility. But you do get to a point where you've done enough work, you've had enough results, where honestly what it is, it's like, it's a lot easier to say no to other people when someone else is willing to pay you more. Right. You know, like every step of my business, as soon as someone has paid me X amount, I'm like, I am justified in asking for that or more. Right. And someone paid me a big amount. I'm like, it's going up.
Yep.
Right. And so it's been a slow going up and up to a point where I used to think $100 for a video was like, right. Now I'm like, it's a lot more than that. Yeah. Right. And so it's a journey. It takes a lot of self-respect as well too, because you only have so many hours in the day. And if I've got one guy that paid me a little amount to do something and another guy that's willing to pay me a lot more, that guy can't expect me to,
right,
you know, adhere to the amount he's trying to give me. So it's hard because too, I'm a people pleaser to my core. I'm a people pleaser. So when it came down to pricing for the longest time, I'm like, okay, I'll take $100
It's a tough conversation.
It is really hard.
People don't know how to talk about money.
No, honestly, for the longest period of my career, even my full-time jobs, my pricing with my business, that is my least favorite part. If you were to ask me straight up, what's my least favorite part about business? Money. Well, it's funny. My favorite part about business is money. My least favorite part is talking about the money. Because truthfully, if it was like all money aside, I love talking about creative passion, creative visions. How are we going to do this? And then the last conversation we always get to is like, okay, how much is this going to cost? I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Actually, I want to touch on that.
Yeah.
Let's just say you have a business that reaches out and they're really excited to work with you. They have all these ideas and all these things they want to do. And you work with them, you figure out the strategy, figure out all these things. And then the conversation gets to the money. How do you navigate that conversation? And how do you show the business the value that you can create? Sure, you can talk about past work, but I guess a lot of businesses don't know how much money they should invest into this thing that they're trying to do. How do you have that conversation?
Honestly, a really good question that I was taught in that course was, what's going to happen if you don't do this? Right? Because I think about one of my old clients, the guy that helped start his business, made like $500,000 in like 6 months. I'm like, what would happen if he didn't do that? He would still be, vice president at that old job. It was great, good job, whatever. But the life that he is living right now is tremendously better for him, for his family, for his career, because he made that decision. And so in a lot of ways, some business owners are at a point in their business where it's like things are stagnant. They're not getting the sales, they're not getting the recruitment. And it's like, I don't see the value in investing. It's like, okay, well, what's going to happen if you don't do this? And it's not like a threat. So for some people, they were like, whoa, like, what are you trying to say here? I'm like, no. Like, I'm trying to express to you there's a value of us doing this. Obviously, you have to believe in that value in order to invest in me. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, it's a lot more than like what will happen if it doesn't happen. It's like, what are your salespeople struggling with right now? It's like, oh, we don't have enough leads in order to feed them. Mm-hmm. Well, what happens if we don't give them enough leads? Well, we might have to like fire some of the salespeople. Then you're like, oh, then they're starting to think, and that's not me trying to be pessimistic.
No, that's just reality.
Sometimes people inherently already believe right off of the value that I express, right? Mm-hmm. But some people, it's like it's a scared thing, especially if you don't know me, you don't know my work. Even myself, if someone comes to me like, hey, give me $10,000 to make your business better or something like that,
right?
It's a scary thing to do.
Of course.
So a lot of times the pricing obviously comes down to, first of all, expressing your value in the most strategic way possible. But also it's a matter of like looking at the other factors beyond that too. So the reason why I really enjoy working with other businesses is, like I said, I'm not just making them a video just to like have on their social media. I'm making things to actively change their life, improve their business, make their family better, make their everything better.
Yeah. And real business people speak business.
Right. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to having the tough conversations about pricing, it just comes down to objections. Like, what is it right now that's stopping you from investing? And sometimes it's just a matter of, I'm scared. I'm scared, right? Because they don't want it to, or they don't know if it'll pan out. But as a creative, the responsibility is kind of on us to make sure that our value is very clear, that the investment that they're giving, that return is very clear.
Yeah. And making them see it as an investment rather than an expense.
Exactly. Right. And that's actually a switch that I had to make in my brain, instead of like, oh, this is the cost. No, this is the investment. Mm-hmm. Because to me, when I say that and when they hear that, they know that the investment, they're getting something in return. Mm-hmm. The other thing too about being my own business owner, being the lead decision maker is that, like, let's say initially the project doesn't pan out as much as we wanted. I can decide if I want to do a little extra, and like really achieve that dream. And so you said this earlier, is when I have a cut of the success that's at stake, I feel much more inclined to really keep going at it until we get there. Mm-hmm. But if it's a matter of, you paid me for 10 hours, I did my 10 hours, and
that's that.
That's kind of that.
Yeah, I've delivered everything I said I was going to deliver.
I did my thing. And so, I take a little bit of a different approach with every client, with pricing, with, is it just a small little...
And you should. Is it someone that you really want to work with? Well, that might affect how you price it.
Right. And it's just a matter of, it's really just like, I like to work with high value clients. Obviously, I'm sure everybody does. But I also do all sorts of stuff. So sometimes there'll be like a smaller little thing that just makes more sense to do a little hourly rate. But when people come to me with big dreams, big visions, big goals, I'm like, it's going to take a little bit of an investment to get there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's been awesome to see that pan out. It's really scary for myself sometimes to come across those objections. But to just be human with somebody, I know this is like a big topic of the podcast is, we could go very business route when we start talking about money. Like, oh, this investment's going to get you X, Y, and Z. It's like, listen, what can I do right now to make your life better? Mm-hmm. Like, and a lot of times it comes down to, we need to improve the business side of things too. But I'm trying to make it easier for business owners. They're making content, getting stressed, overwhelmed and everything. I'm like, Let me make it easier for you, more intentional. more effective.
It really is a wild time to be alive. And like we have social media, we have YouTube, we have all these things that we previously touched on that is just like changing how businesses operate today compared to how they did 20 years ago. And it's the most exciting time to be alive. But at the same time, not everyone knows how to take advantage of those things. And working with someone that actually does know how to do that and has done it before, I think it can be a huge unlock. And what you're doing essentially by working with someone like you or with someone like me is you're getting a shortcut, because there has been a lot of time and effort put into this person getting to know what they know and like the reps. And what you're paying for is a shortcut to get there.
Yeah, but because in a lot of ways too, we talk about those objections in the time, and I say like, you know, what is going to happen if you don't do this?
I love that, by the way. This is something that fitness coaches ask as well. They're like, okay, what's like, because when you start, I think you should never justify as a business owner, or whenever you give someone a rate and they ask you, well, why is it that much? Never justify. That's just a losing battle. Instead, I think what one thing that I've heard that fitness coaches do is they'll ask you like, okay, why do you want to get fit? And they'll give you all the reasons. But okay, well, what will it cost you? What would it cost you if you didn't get fit right now? Exactly. And that's a way better question, because then you start thinking about that reality. Okay, well, if I don't lose weight and I die early from a heart attack, and you know, like, and then my kids are left homeless, or you know, like, you start going down the path, and then you start realizing what the cost actually is.
Yeah, because no one really likes to think, and you know, I really struggled with that approach at first, because I don't, like I said, I don't want it to come off as like a threat. Like,
I don't think it does.
Yeah, but you know, it's like, watch what happens if you don't do this, right? It's I'm gonna be rooting on your downfall. Like, no, that's not the vibe. The reality is it's like we always have different opportunities, and like the reality is, if you're a business owner, every single day there's different opportunities or decisions that you have to be making, and especially if you're someone that's not creative, you know, you only have time and capacity for so much. And so for a lot of people, it's like, if you don't do this, you're relying on yourself to focus on this, and, you know, kind of a half capacity. It's been a really fun value for myself to see these business owners kind of relieve themselves of the creative side of the business to focus on other sides of the more important things, and for me to become an asset to them. Because truthfully, it's like, you know, if you had $1 million and you had a business, you could escalate your business a lot faster than if you didn't have $1 million, right? Because you can pay people to do certain things for you, and you kind of build it without you having to do much. I get that some people are kind of, you know, especially business owners, they have to be wary of their budgets and what they're spending their money and investments on. You know, there's certain times where, to me, it's so clear that all they need is to relieve themselves of the creative side, but they're so scared of the investment. And, you know, there's really only so much you can do about that.
Right. You can't convince them to
do
something that they don't want to do.
So at the end of the day, it's there's always a opportunity lost.
The opportunity cost too.
Yeah, and the opportunity cost as well for somebody that decides not to do an investment. And, you know, at the end of the day, for someone like myself as a business owner, we move on, we go to the next person that might be interested. But, you know, that's been a journey for myself, is to, you know, try to express that value in a way that's much more real, you know, because it's not always about, oh, I'm going to get you this amount of leads or get this amount of views. Typically, it's about like a lot more deeper things than that. So having that human to human conversation too, it's like, where are you at financially? Like, how are your kids' college fund? Like, how are your employees doing? Like, do they have enough leads? Like, again, like I said, what would happen if they don't have those leads?
Caring deeply for them.
Right. And that's where I think that as a creative, like, a lot of times you'll know how to make a good video, but there's so many parts about being an entrepreneur that require you to just be a people person, you know? And I think that that's truthfully, when I think about all my skill set, I've said a bunch of times right now, I can make a video, I can make a website, I can make things that look really good. It's my ability to connect with people and to understand their struggles, their visions, their dreams, that has helped me to really connect with them and to make quality product too.
Yeah. So would you say that that's your gift?
You know, I like to say my purpose on this earth is to connect with people. I think I've realized that more recently in my life. I love to travel. Every time I travel, I come home with new friends. And I think definitely the more exciting part of my job, all creative stuff aside, is really just having these meaningful, very inspiring conversations with people. Like I said, a big part of my job is convincing people that they can achieve their dreams if they just really commit themselves to it. And the fun part is, like, again, that question I asked you, like, what is your dream? What do you want to do?
Yeah. So
connecting with people, inspiring people, motivating people definitely is like a big part of like just who I am.
Dude, it gives me such a high.
Yeah.
Dude, I love telling someone that they can do this and that like they don't believe in themselves at first, but then like, I had this guy at my job. He was a safety manager, and we had to get him on video, and he was bad on video at first. Like, the guy was stuttering and messing up, and I'm like, dude, it's okay. It takes like 20 takes. That's just what it takes. And over like the course of 2 months, we kept making more videos, and he got to the point where he was super confident, and then he just believed in himself so much. Like, oh, I can do anything. He started a YouTube channel. Like, bro, I love to see it.
Dude, the way things can escalate so fast if you just practice, like, and that applies to so much. Like even putting your own philosophies into practice on a day-to-day basis. Nothing can be achieved overnight. One of my favorite sayings is like Michael Phelps didn't just wake up an Olympic swimmer, right? Mm-hmm. He worked on his craft over and over and over again to become one of the best that he could. Mm-hmm. And so, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people don't necessarily have that drive in them that, like, for myself, if I'm doing something, I want to be the best at it.
Like, dude, I hate being bad at anything.
That's even
so I hated making the tech videos. I'm like, I'm not the best at this.
See, but you're wrong for that. You're wrong for that, because I'm watching those the whole time, and I'm like eating my snacks and whatnot, like locked in, and then you're thinking that like it's not delivering. But at the end of the day, it's as with everything, it comes with practice. Like, and with everybody too, it's just pushing them to do this like small baby steps where that like accumulate to such bigger things. But yeah, I would say for me, like, connecting with people is like such a like high point in my business, especially I get a new customer, a new person has no idea who I am. And
not only do you connect them, they also want to pay you money.
Yeah. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
How did I get to this? Well, I make a joke like a lot of times, because I guess it's not necessarily imposter syndrome, but it is this interesting feeling where I'm like, people are paying me a living amount to make videos and websites and stuff. There are people out there saving other people's lives for a living. And I'm like, it's just crazy to me. It's still crazy to me. It hasn't really sunk in that I'm a professional at what I love to do. And to me, that inspires myself to like pay it forward to other people, because everybody's got some sort of passion. Everybody's got some sort of purpose. Some people don't really know it. But if you do know what it is, you got to make it your all to like really chase that. Like,
if someone doesn't know what their purpose is, how do they find that?
Living. Honestly, like, you have to be so open-minded in life. At some point I thought I wanted to be a civil engineer. Mm-hmm. I really thought I was like going to build bridges, buildings and whatnot. I was into it.
Dude, me too.
Really?
Yeah. I did internship type thing. I did like an internship thing working for a civil engineer, like my senior year. I hated it so much, dude. It was the worst.
See, I took like a tech ed class in high school where we like built a bunch of like balsa wood bridges and all these different things. And it was like really fascinating for me to learn all that. So I was like, oh yeah, I guess I want to make bridges and stuff when I grow up. But in my senior year of high school, long story short, I was one of the crazy people at the front of our like high school football game student sections, like crazy chants and everything, making everybody hype. So my senior year, our turf field was being renovated, and I was like, we only had 2 home games for the whole year. So I took it upon myself in the student council association, whatever, to like make these hype videos to get everyone to like go out to the away games. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, I locked in out of nowhere for like 8 hours, just like cranked out a video. Everybody loved it, put it on the morning announcements the next day. And then, so I made these videos just strictly for fun. Honestly, at the time I was just like, I don't know. I was sad because I was like, what am I going to do? Go out of these away games and cheer in front of a dead crowd and have no one really engage with me. So I did it kind of selfishly. I was like, I want people to come out to the crowd. It's my senior year. I want the crowds to be big. I want them to be live. I don't want to be screaming. Mm-hmm. So I made one video. It was really successful. Everyone's like, yeah, it was awesome. People started coming out to games and made another one. I made like a third one, and then it came time for orientation for me going to JMU, and I'm at a civil and engineering orientation meeting or whatever, and then I don't even know how I came across SMAD.
You were just mad?
Yeah, I was a SMAD major.
Dude, that's awesome.
And the first time they said SMAD, I was like, SMAD? What? Like, that sounds like something tech, like CAD or I don't even know what CAD is. I don't know. Basically, it sounded something very techy, sciencey, whatever. And then they said School of Media Arts and Design. Then they said something about videography or whatever. I was like, Mom, can we go like check that one out real quick? And that was like one of the first moments that I was introduced to the idea that I could make a life or a living out of a creative field. I'd never considered being a creative major at all. And I sat through that meeting and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. I kind of just stuck with it at that point. So I know that at some point there's probably another in another another universe. There's probably like a Nathan that's making bridges or something like that. But
you're still making bridges. You're just doing it emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. I got to give you a round of applause. That was a beautiful metaphor right there. Wow.
You thought you stopped, but you didn't.
Yeah. No, I'm still like a nerd about all sorts of stuff. You know, I still love architecture, geology. Like there's certain things that I like get very fascinated about. But in hindsight, we're talking about like how we found our purpose. I feel very lucky sometimes. I think some people, it's very hard for them to understand their own purpose. And I think back on my life in all sorts of ways that there were all sorts of small things that I did that kind of gravitated me towards videography, creative design and stuff like that. But you know, it's a hard place to come from, to like tell people how just like chase what you're passionate for.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's not as clear for some people, you know?
Yeah, it's not always the best advice. Like if you're passionate about underwater basket weaving, like
who says you can't be
you can
underwater UWB, I don't know, WNBA or something like that.
I heard something interesting that Chris Doe said actually, and it was that if you really want to be an underwater basket weaver, you could do it if you create content around it and you blow up. But then when people invite you to go speak, you're going to be speaking about creating content, not about basket weaving. Right.
And so it's very interesting that you say this. I feel like the business that I have right now could potentially not allow me to, but could be a way for me to start other businesses.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you pretty much do that every time you get a new client.
That's actually not a bad point. I didn't even think about it like that.
Every time you get a new client, you're just figuring out how to blow up their business. So stands to reason you could blow up any business.
And so that's why in a lot of ways I'm like, this business that I'm doing right now is potentially my first. In a lot of ways, I'm a big Shark Tank watcher. I don't know about you. Do you watch Shark Tank?
No, not like that.
Dude, I watch Shark Tank like it's nothing. Like that's my comfort show.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I'm just so fascinated with business, entrepreneurship, and the different ways that somebody can uniquely provide something to somebody and make money from it. And so, you know, the way I look at it is that my creative business that I have right now is obviously my passion. It's what I'm best at. But now actually working with all these other different businesses and different business models and different advertising models and different things all across the spectrum. Like I said, beekeepers, DJs, you know, tech sales, all these different places. I feel equipped to potentially like, I don't even know what I would want to do eventually down the line.
Yeah, what would you want to do?
I don't know. I mean, I always thought, it's funny, I'm going to bring this up again. I love bagels. I'd love to have a bagel shop. But I've had a lot of insight into the don't do anything in the food industry space.
Yeah, it's tough.
But
I actually have a bagel shop coming on soon.
You do?
Yeah.
No way.
Mr. J's.
Bring me Mr. J's?
Yeah.
Like Mr. J himself?
No. So the people that started Mr. J's, they sold the business to someone, and this lady started out as like a manager, as a worker, and then worked her way up, and then eventually bought the business. But yeah, I'll be having her on soon.
Tell her I'm a big fan, please.
Okay, I will.
But yeah, it's just been such a blessing working with so many different business owners. If you're not familiar with Shark Tank, obviously they have like Mark Cuban and all these people in there that are like asking questions about their business model.
Yeah.
A lot of ways I feel like a shark when I'm engaging with these clients for the first time, because I have to have a very good understanding of what their business model is. And you know, for every other creative out there too, if you're working with a business, the first and foremost, what you need to do if you're working with anybody is to understand their business model to a T.
Yeah. And then don't be afraid to ask questions.
For me, every time I'm understanding a business model for a company, the reason why I'm doing that is because if I'm making them, let's say, an advertisement or a website or something, I need to know like who their most lucrative customer is.
Who's their ICP.
Right. And for me, I've always just been fascinated with business in general. I think back to, I don't know if you were like this when you were a kid, but I'm like making lemonade stands.
Dude, you're out here hustling.
I was hustling since I was a kid. I was thinking about this driving on the way down here. I'm like, wait, I've actually kind of been an entrepreneur for a while.
Yeah.
Used to like do all like the fundraising events as a kid where like Hoops for Heart, I raised like $1,300 as a middle schooler, just knocking on everybody's doors, asking for money and doing stuff. It's always just been in my blood, to make money. And, for people like myself, like the creatives, they really need to like tap into their ability to,
I feel like it's an ability to like face rejection. Because a lot of people are just scared to try because they don't want to hear the no. And I think like something like from what you're telling me, it sounds like you were never afraid to like get a no. You knock on doors as a middle schooler. Like it's not something that everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about handling things with grace. Any adversity, you just have to handle it with grace, and grace with yourself, but also giving grace to the people that say no. The reality is like, who are you to say that they should, or I never feel like I'm coming from a place of all knowing, even when I'm like a much more experienced person in the creative world. If someone says no, the reality is like, you can convince them to a certain extent, but you can't take it personally. Right. You can't take it personally because there's so many elements, especially in the business world, the personal world. It's all about being persistent,
And personal too. Like you just have to understand, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not this, but you care about them. So if they say no, maybe that really is the best thing for them.
And also like, there's something to be said about handling rejection gracefully, that they'll remember that, there's been a couple times where I've gotten a no. It's like, okay, I'm here. If you guys ever, anything changes, I hear from them a year later. In fact, one of my biggest clients I have right now, we had a meeting, never heard from her ever again, like a year later. And then they're like, oh, hey, like, remember us? And now they're like a majority of my work for the past like 6 months has been them just like giving me endless projects. So there's something to be said about no matter what the outcome is, as long as you're staying true to yourself, being personable, being human, people remember that. And that sticks with people. And inevitably when they go find another company that's like trying to hustle them or, not giving them the same customer experience, they're going to say, dang, I got to give Nathan a call. So
yeah, people remember how you made them feel.
It's always about living very presently. And that's a combination of a lot of things, but I've learned that no matter if you get a no, if you get a yes, as long as you are providing a human experience with your business, that they're going to feel much more comfortable calling you at some point down the line. So
speaking of the human experience and going back to what you talked about when you talked about broadcasting, I think there's something special that happens when things are live. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what is this energy that we as humans, just like we're social creatures and we love interacting with other people. What is it about like live media? Because when I was building out this podcast studio, I've planned it out like to do live events. So like if somebody wants to go live from here, they can do it with me. And I was just like, do you think what's the special power that you get from doing live events?
I think we're really shifting in our content consumption as a society. We used to be back in first of all, we started back in like TV, right? At least for my age, I'm 27.
Yeah. First it was radio, then it was TV.
TV, or radio, TV. Then we start getting into like YouTube, right? Which is very, for the most part, fleshed out, edited, long form content. Then we start getting into the Vine TikTok world, which is just like these small little unedited 6-second clips that are starting to feel a little bit more like natural is when I'm looking in hindsight. Then we think about now, we're like, dude, the Twitch world, Twitch streaming, like, and it's become such a big thing. I don't know if you're familiar with like Kai Cenat and then I I feel like I'm not even like the demographic for them. I almost feel like I'm a little too old to be watching that type of stuff, but I can't help but be so captivated by that live format. And a lot of that has to do with, I think we're just naturally starting to enjoy a much more like raw, unedited content. I noticed when I first started getting on TikTok, putting these like highly edited videos on TikTok, people are sliding right past it.
Yeah. And something you talked about being present, I was going to touch on this and say, I think it's harder than ever to be present just because of how much distractions, how much dopamine hits we have available to us, and just how everything wants our attention so badly. So I am also seeing the shift towards unedited content, live content, stuff that just feels low fidelity. I mean, it's high quality, but low fidelity. Like it's not super over edited. That was actually one of the issues with my like tech videos. It just felt way over edited.
Dude, I loved them though. I'm like,
but anyways, the point is, I think that people are shifting, and I've noticed this in my consumption habits as well. I am more likely to watch a video of a person just talking for an hour without edits. And that's partially why I want to do this podcast. Is like, I don't want to edit and go crazy over the top. I'm just trying to like get down to the content and like actual conversations.
That's been a really interesting part of my creative arc for sure. Has been, at first I'm like, I need to create very captivating, complex, like highly edited things. And that still has value too. But as a videographer, especially a strategic one, I've realized some of the most least edited, quickly produced videos or most raw and natural feeling videos I've made have been most successful, which is kind of frustrating sometimes because I'm like, I want to put my editing skills on display.
But I think the way you fully show up isn't through the editing skills. No. It's through the
intention. And strategy. Like that's where I'll say these words a million times.
Talk to me about strategy. You've said that word a million times. What does it mean to create strategic content? Because that's like a level that most people, they just focus on the tactics. Like I can give people a bunch of tactics of stuff they should do. Like talk to me about strategy.
You know, that takes, strategy has so many different factors in play because strategy starts from the moment that
Define strategy first.
So strategy to me is the steps that we got to take to achieve the goal. Right. And so first things that most people are coming to me with, they're like, oh, I need social media, or I need a video for the website. And I'm like I've said, I usually take a step back at that point. And I'm like, we need to understand more what the actual goals are, what the intentions are. And then from there, that's when we start strategizing because truthfully, like, I tell this to all my clients, if you look at any video on the internet and you send it to me, I can recreate that.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we're talking to a cleaning business owner and they see another business that has really good cleaning content or whatever, I'm like, let's look at a successful version of your business, see what they're doing correctly and use that. And so when it comes to strategy, the idea is obviously logistically, how are we going to produce this so that it looks good? But also like, what kind of context are we sharing with the audience? What kind of emotional impact are we striking on the audience? What do they need to feel to take the action that you want them to take? Exactly. And that's the other thing too, is what is that action in the first place? Like a lot of times the first thing we need to figure out is what is the call to action? You know, sometimes the videos that I'm making for them, the next thing that we want them to do is to click a button or to go to the website and to book a meeting. Right. It's like what we're talking, like, what's the result you want to happen? What actions do we need to get people to take to get there? And what do they have to believe? Exactly. And then it's like, how do I make them believe this so that they take the action so that they get the result? So most of the time we start backwards. Right. Like we have to figure out what that goal is first before I can even think about what can I even make for these people? For sure. And another thing that's really funny is when a customer comes to you and they start telling you what they need, that's so funny to me. That's like you going to a doctor and self-prescribing everything that you need. No, any good doctor is going to be like, hold up, I'm going to tell you what you need. Exactly. So that was a big, that exact analogy actually was something that was very frequently used in the course that I was taking to understand my value, which was people are coming to us not for the immediate solution. They're honestly coming to us to figure out what the problem is. You know, for business owners, a lot of times too, like we figure out what their strengths are, but we also have to figure out what their weaknesses are. And that's where I'm able to like step up and help them out. And so a lot of times they'll come to me thinking that they know one thing. And I never come from a place of like, oh, you're wrong. You need to like, blah, how do you have that conversation? You have to like walk people through things. So it's like,
My favorite one is like, I need a website.
Yes.
It's like, okay, tell me more. Like, cause like, what if they really don't need a website? What if they just really need social media? Because like their website's good enough right now and they just need to get people to it. Because I've built a bunch of websites that people don't go to.
Exactly.
Like, how do you get people there? That's the real question.
Well, so the other thing too is like I work with a variety of younger clients that know how social media works. I work with a variety of clients that are older, may not know how that stuff works. So sometimes I'm 27. I'm active on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all these different places. And so I know how these platforms work. So a lot of times too, it's like they'll come to me thinking that they need, like social media content or a video here. I'm like, why do you think you want these videos? Like, what do you think they'll add to your business or change about your business? They're like, well, I need, more people to like see it, more engagement, more whatever. And that's when we start getting closer to, what it is that we're actually trying to do.
So let's just say I'm coming to you and I'm like, hey, let's just use this example of a video. I need you to make some videos because I need more views because I'm trying to make more sales. What do you say to that?
What are you selling?
Okay, I tell you.
Well, that's actually realistically what I would ask them because the idea is I need to know what they're selling. That's always obviously like a big part for me. But also it's like, I need more sales. I'm like, are you selling different products? Is there one product that sells more than others? Is there one product that's more expensive than others? Because half the time it's like, if we can get really focused on something that we know will be successful, you're already starting out on a much better note than let's just make a video and see what happens, you know? But if I know X business sells Y and Z is their top selling product, but they don't even like market it or something like that. Like for me, I need to know, like you already came to me, you said I need sales. So that kind of helps me to understand what route to go. Realistically, as a business, there's been so many different ways. Like they need recruitment. Sometimes they need to like find new people to like join their business, training videos. So a lot of times too, that even gets trickier when it comes to your own value too. But you said you come to me with, I need videos. The other part of the conversation that I like to have too is that like, who is their target market? For example, I was working for that blinds company. There ain't no like 25, 30-year-olds that are really consuming blinds content. I'm like, we got to make TikToks. We got to make this. And then at first they showed me the videos that were like most successful for them that they outsourced before. It was like these old style infomercial, like old people and whatnot. And so a lot of times I have to understand too, like, have you been using any video content before? Like what is your expertise in advertising, or not expertise, but experience in advertising? One of the fun parts about myself is I personally haven't met other creatives like myself that just kind of focus on businesses. So I have a lot of experience understanding business talk, what the finances, marketing, advertising, administration, all these different things. So when I start having those conversations with my clients, it's really fun because sometimes I pick up on the fact that they're like, whoa, like this creative guy knows ball.
What advice would you have to a new business owner? Maybe someone like me who's just starting off in a creative endeavor, like having a podcast. What advice would you give me?
I would say, look for your most opportunistic people that are ready to, work with you. As with every creative, the initial stages of producing meaningful work kind of comes down to anyone that's willing to do it. And so, even with myself, like with my journey, that started out a little bit rocky, accepting as much as I can. But the reality is once you have more opportunities to do those projects, you also learn a lot about maybe I do want to do this and maybe I don't want to do this. I'll give you an example. I thought at the beginning of my business that real estate photography was going to be a huge part of my business.
Dude, I started off doing real estate photography and building websites for real estate agents and all that.
Right. And so
tough industry.
What I'll say though, my advice though, is that, see it through, give yourself the opportunity to try that. And the reality is in the creative world, some people might think it's weddings, real estate, and that's about it. But in nowadays, like you have so many opportunities to open yourself to other clients as a creative person that you really do want to keep your mind open, and then also kind of be open to refining into a certain niche if you want. You know, some people would kind of take a different approach from me where they say you should only focus on one niche. But the reality is sometimes you need to throw a wide net and then just refine after that. For my advice to a creative business owner in the early stages is just keep grinding. Honestly, like that's the thing that's going to get you past any wall. For yourself, it's like, do you really love this?
Yeah, for sure.
Then that's what will show itself down the line, is like, if you really love this, if it's something that you still really enjoy while you're doing it for other people too, there's no lose there. Like, to me, I think some people probably don't have the capacity to keep creating for other people. But if you really are a people person, like the fun part is seeing, at least in my opinion, their visions, their passions come into light. And giving them an outlet to do this. Truthfully, like, this is a really cool opportunity for myself. Even like, I know this is really like your baby, but I'm gonna cherish this. This is my first ever podcast, so
Dude, I'm honored. I hope to have a lot of firsts.